Welcome back to a journey through time, where even the smallest objects can hold the weight of centuries of history. Today, we turn our attention to a modest yet powerful artifact of the United Kingdom's past, the 1957 British sixpence coin. At first glance, this silver-colored piece may appear to be just another old coin, a small fraction of currency that once jingled in the pockets of ordinary people. But hidden within its circular form lies a remarkable story of empire, culture, tradition, and transition. The sixpence coin, often affectionately called a tanner, was first introduced in 1551 under the reign of Edward VI, son of the infamous Henry VIII. For over 400 years, it served as one of the most recognizable denominations in British currency, carrying with it a charm that went beyond mere economic use. By the time this particular 1957 edition was minted, Britain was in the middle of a changing world. Recovering from the devastation of World War II, adapting to a declining empire, and preparing for the coming shift toward a decimal-based currency system. Yet, despite these transformations, the sixpence still carried its traditional role in society, not only as money but also as a token of luck, love, and continuity. The design itself tells its own tale. On the reverse, we see a crowned Tudor rose surrounded by a thistle, a shamrock, and a leek, representing England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales respectively. It was a symbolic reminder of the unity of the United Kingdom, carefully engraved to reflect national pride. Surrounding these emblems are the inscriptions FID Def, an abbreviation of Fidei Defensor, or Defender of the Faith, a title held by the monarch, and of course the denomination sixpence in the year 1957. The obverse of the coin bore the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, just a few years into her reign after ascending the throne in 1952. This particular design was one of the earliest representations of the new queen, and for many people, owning such a coin was like holding a piece of history in their palm. It represented resilience, continuity, and the enduring British monarchy. But beyond its royal symbolism, the sixpence was also woven deeply into the lives of common people. It was the coin children received in their Christmas pudding, the coin slipped into shoes by brides for good luck, and the coin that carried whispers of superstition and charm across generations. By 1957, inflation had begun to erode the purchasing power of the sixpence, but its cultural significance remained untarnished. People still cherished it as more than money, it was a piece of heritage. In fact, even today, collectors, historians, and romantics alike seek out these coins not merely for their metal content or rarity, but because they represent a slice of British identity frozen in time. The 1957 issue in particular is highly valued because it captures a post-war Britain stepping forward into the modern age, yet still clinging to the tra. To understand the true importance of the 1957 British sixpence, we must place it in the broader context of global history during that era. The year 1957 was not just another point on the calendar, it was a period of immense transformation, both within the United Kingdom and across the world. Britain was still emerging from the shadow of the Second World War, rebuilding its cities, modernizing its industries, and redefining its place in the global order. The British Empire, once the most powerful force on earth, had begun to unravel. India had already achieved independence in 1947, and many other colonies were on the path toward self-governance. This decline of empire gave rise to the Commonwealth, a new association of nations bound not by imperial control but by mutual respect and shared history. Within this context, the sixpence coin carried silent echoes of Britain's changing identity. The design itself, featuring the rose, thistle, shamrock, and leek, symbolized unity across the home nations, but at a deeper level, it also represented Britain's need for cohesion during a time of political and cultural transformation. The young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse reminded citizens that despite shifting tides abroad, the monarchy remained a constant at home. Globally, 1957 was the year the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, marking the dawn of the space age. Across the Atlantic, the United States was experiencing the beginnings of the civil rights movement. In such a climate, this little coin, minted in Britain, found itself circulating in a world of rapid innovation, political upheaval, and cultural change. Yet it remained a token of stability for ordinary people. Coins like the sixpence traveled in pockets across Europe, moved through the hands of soldiers stationed abroad, and were carried by families emigrating to new lives in Canada, Australia, or New Zealand. In this way, the sixpence became more than British money, it became a global traveler, quietly accompanying the British people wherever they went. By 1957, though its face value was modest, its symbolic presence was immense. It stood as a reminder of Britain's long history, even as the world around it raced into modernity. Paragraph 5, Numismatics, Collecting, and Value, 1,000 words. Beyond its role in everyday life, the 1957 sixpence has also carved out a significant place in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. For collectors, coins are not simply pieces of currency, they are historical documents, frozen in metal, telling stories of their time. The 1957 sixpence is especially prized among collectors for several reasons. First, it represents one of the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, making it historically valuable. Coins from the first decades of a monarch's reign often hold special significance, as they reflect both continuity with the past and the beginning of a new era. Second, the 1957 issue was struck in cupronickel, following the removal. Beyond its role in everyday life, the 1957 sixpence has also carved out a significant place in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. For collectors, coins are not simply pieces of currency, they are historical documents, frozen in metal, telling stories of their time. The 1957 sixpence is especially prized among collectors for several reasons. First, it represents one of the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, making it historically valuable. Coins from the first decades of a monarch's reign often hold special significance, as they reflect both continuity with the past and the beginning of a new era. Second, the 1957 issue was struck in cupronickel, following the removal of silver from sixpences after 1946. This change in composition reflected the economic realities of post-war Britain, where the rising cost of silver made it impractical for coinage. For collectors, this marks a turning point in the material history of the sixpence. Third, its design stands as one of the most iconic, with the floral emblems of the United Kingdom blending into a symmetrical pattern that many numismatists regard as one of the most elegant of mid-20th century British coinage. But what makes collecting the 1957 sixpence truly fascinating is not just its physical design but the human stories attached to it. Many collectors acquire these coins not only for their rarity but also because they remind them of their childhood, their family traditions, or their heritage. A collector in Canada may treasure it because it was a coin their grandparents brought across the Atlantic when they emigrated. A collector in Australia may cherish it as part of a colonial connection to the old country. In the numismatic market, 1957 sixpences can range in value depending on condition. A well-circulated coin may only be worth a few dollars, while one in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch a much higher price. But for most collectors, its value lies not in monetary worth but in cultural memory. Some frame it as a keepsake, others incorporate it into jewelry such as pendants or cufflinks, and still others preserve it in protective